here for another Dominions 4 AI battle session of this lower bracket, lower division, whatever you want to call it. AI tournament for Season 1. Today we have a match between Agartha and Machaka. I'm not too familiar with Machaka. I talked about it in the previous videos. I played a bit of Agartha in my time, but nowhere near enough to be like thinking that I'm an expert of Agartha. But let's quickly look at the bracket and see the standings of this amazing little tournament here. So we only have 2 more matches in this round 1 of this lower division bracket. We're getting close to only 10 more matches. Man, I can't believe I've almost done like 20 plus hours of this. It's insane to me. I've streamed this game so much in the past like 2 weeks. But anyway, before we get into the match, let's just quickly talk about the god stats, because as it turns out, Pebble Heart of Agartha, that pillar you've seen on the left, he is an imprisoned god, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see him. We're going to talk about his magic. He's got 9 earth magic, 4 astral, and 4 death. You can see his dominion when we get in the game. And as for Machaka, he has 5 earth and 4 nature, but he's an awakened god, so he'll be there at the start of the match. But without too much further ado, let's get into this and hope to goodness that I've set up everything correctly. Let us host. All right. Is this set up? Okay, maybe they all default to aggressive, actually. Maybe that's what happens when they're on random AI type. They just always go to aggressive. So, as for the Dominion of Machaka here, it's got 1 piece, 1 production, 3 heat scale, and I'm pretty sure if we go check their heat scale, they prefer +2, so it's kind of a negative here, which is allowing them to get some extra points into other things. They get 1 growth, 1 luck, and 1 magic. So, you know, not a bad Dominion for them. It doesn't really specialize in anything, but you know, it doesn't have a whole lot of negatives attached to it to begin with. And this is Madoma of Machaka. He's got a lot of resistances here. I think if he gets into battle, he could be able to survive a whole lot, because he's got blunt and pierce resistant, and that's like 3/4 of the main damage types in this game. Other than that, let's take a look at their units, and it looks like they're going to be going their tier 2 cavalry option, the Spider Knights. And I was wrong. I thought they were pygmies for Machaka, but they're just like lion tribe people. And I read up a little bit about them. Their hoplites here are only second to the hoplites of Archocephalae, so I would really like to see hoplites from Machaka be fielded here, because these stats are pretty good, and the fact that the formation fighter really helps out their morale. Also, Black Hunters are very scary if you look at them. Look at this, full plate mail and helm and shield on top of a mounted unit that can go pretty quick. They're sacred, so they get sacred buffs. They have spider fangs that do poison damage, I'm assuming. They do. That is a lot of poison damage. They also have webbing attached to it. They have the lance and spear. They have a lot of attacks. These are very powerful units, and then they have the ambidextrous spider warriors here. Some of their units, such as the Black Sorcerer, turn into spiders when they're killed. So very spider-focused nation. And unfortunately, they're not making a move at the start, and neither is Agartha. So maybe they both got kind of like spawn screwed on this map. And are they actually at each other's borders? I think they're relatively close to one another. But Agartha is a mixture of humanoids and these pale ones that kind of look like trolls, and then slave troglodytes. Troglodytes are nice because they got trample. Sure, they're slaves, so they have lower morale. So you need someone with a taskmaster ability to really use them effectively. They have decent infantry, they have heavy infantry, so they have kite shield, half helm, full chainmail. So not like this, they're above average on the armor protection range, and they have short swords, which allow them to do piercing or slash damage. So that works out for them quite well. And then they have pretty much all of these the wet ones and pale ones, they all have siege bonuses. So if for whatever reason Machaka decides to go heavy on the castles, it's not going to really matter too much for Agartha, because they'll be able to bust it down, because every unit above that is not a humanoid has the siege bonus damage. And they have the Shard Guard, which is their sacred unit. And they actually, no, I think pretty much all their larger pale ones are the sacred units. Yeah, so these top 3 are the sacred units of Agartha, and they have standards because they're the revered pale ones, the ancient ones rather. And the Shard Glaive allows you to put cursed, I believe. Yeah, so you can curse enemy units if this unit right here does any damage. So without too much further ado, before we start actually, Agartha gets additional income for cave forts, which they start in a cave fort here, so that's good for them. They have 1 order, 1 production, 2 cold, and I need to check what their cold scale is. I think this is bad for them. I don't think they prefer -2 cold scale. I don't think that's the case. They have 2 growth, 1 unluck, and 3 magic. So they really are going heavy on the magic. And I think if I go to statistics, Pretenders of the World, Pebble Heart, yeah, okay, so that cold scale is just purely 4 points to be put into other things, i.e. their god of Pebble Heart. But it doesn't look like they're making any moves. And okay, so at least Machaka's making something happen here. They're fielding their tier 2 spider cavalry. This is surprising number of independents right outside their borders. I don't really like to see the lion tribe dudes. Like, I don't know what they're called just for Machaka here. They're just warriors of Machaka. They're kind of foddery. They do have shields. They have the hide shield, but they have no other armor associated with them. But they do also have the javelins, and I like to emphasize that javelins are pretty nice. It looks like they bought a merc group. Yeah, they got the city guard, so that should help them push out. I'm surprised they're having Madoma here on research. I mean, he's got 24 magic ability for research, so that really would help out being able to push that out. But I'm surprised they're just not fielding him, having that like bonus of fielding the god, and you should be able to take a few hits. And it looks like Agartha is definitely using some of the troglodytes. Troglodytes are really strong damage-wise, but they can die pretty quick. You gotta be worried about that, but the trample is just, I value that so highly. And as you see, like they die relatively quick because they have like no armor whatsoever, and their hit points aren't crazy high for a unit without armor. But the trample really can help out and just start to disrupt enemy formations and just straight up kill the smaller class units. And is this the city guard unit? I think this might be the city guard unit that Machaka just purchased, which I think is a waste of money. They probably were gonna take this province, but like paying money for militiamen. I mean, I suppose there were no other mercenaries available, and this was probably the most efficient play for them. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about getting a militia commander as as a mercenary unit. But we've seen this commander unit right here. We've seen him do some work against Atlantis, so you never know. And Agartha's actually like pretty close to Machaka here. I guess they're not like border, like they're not super close. I thought Machaka was somewhere around here, so there's a little bit of a distance they have to go, because I doubt they would make the wrap around. And since we're doing it, let's see what's happening in Man. Man is actually very close to Agartha. I forgot the name of my like cave beasts. So like maybe Agartha will siege me. The chances of them sieging me are higher because they have so many units that get that siege bonus to taking down forts. So that they might be the incentive for them. Another cool thing about troglodytes, they're limited to how many you can get per turn. I think it's 5 per turn, and they cost 1 resource and 50 gold. So they're 100% a gold sink. If you have the gold, you can basically be always building them. Yeah, you can get 5 per month, 50. I'm surprised I still remember that. It's been forever since I played Agartha. I really am surprised I remember that. Holy shit. But you can just dump gold into them, and you can pump them out even if you don't have a whole lot of production in a specific territory. So it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know. I think both of these nations right now are having a relatively even showing of assaulting neutral territories. It seems like Machaka is definitely just building up a larger army of specific units, like their spider knights and whatnot, and letting this merc group of militiamen, do most of the capturing work for them, which is actually probably very good for them. It allows them to like not take damages on their like special units But see, like, when they're not pushing out in multiple directions, see, this is the thing I'm concerned about. Agartha's probably split their forces, obviously, in two, and it's going to allow them to potentially, not guaranteed, potentially take more territories per turn. We have some shard guards here. I don't know if they're going to be able to take this. The high ground archers versus this many knights. The trogs should be breaking soon because they're slaves. The shard guards aren't going to be able to hold here. This is just a bad assault on Agartha here. They just wasted so much of their economy and holy points to make that attack. So that's unfortunate, to say the least. Hopefully they're at least able to take this Shambler and like Atlantean group. It's like Atlantean militiamen, so I don't... Whoa, hold up. What happened here? Did they lose a commander? That's the only way I can think that that's... Yeah, they lost their commander. Unit placement is key, and I keep saying it, and I don't know... Some AIs just seem to like placing they're like commanding units on the like front line, or don't tell them to stay behind infantry, and because of that, they just get killed by like tier 1 units. You know, I was talking kind of shit about the militia group of this mercenary militia group, but you know, they're doing work until like obviously they lose their commander and they have to retreat. So I mean, this is Agartha's turn to make something happen, and they are building the spiders, the tarantula riders. Oh man. But Agartha is stalling. I'm not too surprised that they're stalling here because they just lost so many of their like higher tier units that they've been building these last few turns. So it's kind of expected for them to stall maybe a couple more turns. But they're pushing out. They're pushing out again. Is this the Atlantean one? This is. They should take this. The commanding officer of the group is right back here, and they have stone hurlers, which is also pretty cool. They have the ability to throw boulders, but only a range of 6, so not really that far. They're sacred, but they don't have any priests fielded. They have the fist that does some damage. They have some defense, and they have a decent amount of hit points. 42 HP is pretty good, but I guess that's how they balance around that decent amount of HP, is not to give them such crazy armor values. And Machaka is moving out. Maybe they're going to move out with the Spider Knights. Maybe we'll see the Black Knight. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is a huge Black Hunter force. We have 10 Black Hunters fielded. These Deer Tribe have like 0 chance of doing this. Yeah, they're all Deer Tribe. So never mind. I was gonna say like the size class might be an issue for moving them, but it doesn't really come into play with cavalry as much as infantry. The way they're placing some of the other Spider Knights, they're placing them as like an infantry front line. So that's I don't like seeing that when you place cavalry in the middle of your normal units, because not only does it like slow down like the cavalry because they have units in their way, it makes it so that potentially your frontline strong infantry tanking units can't even get up into the front because like your expensive cavalry units are just in there fighting. This is gonna be a rough battle for Agartha here. The counterattack ability of these barbarians is not something to joke around about. They lost so many of their units here. They lost a couple stone throwers and all of their trogs, but they probably are going to take it because now the shield guard have made it to the front line. The heavy Agarthian like troops, infantry, have made it to the front line. I think that's what was able to counteract the high damage outputs of the barbarians. So that's good for Agartha here, but you know, I'd say like relatively, both of these nations are doing relatively the same. 5 territories for Agartha, and we're gonna go back here and see 5 territories as well for Machaka. So they're relatively even on expansion here. So I think we might have a very close game. I honestly don't want another like 2-3 hour game. I mean, they can be fun, but when we're like so early on this lower bracket, having such a long drawn out game is kind of I don't know, draining to say the least. Because the stakes here aren't that high because both of these nations are still in the first round. So there's no like no win streak at stake here. This is a very strange attack. The Black Hunters are nice, but they're gonna lose their commanding officer right here. And that's gonna rout them. I thought, okay, for a second I thought that their commander officer was the Blackguard or whatever that turns into a spider after he dies. So there was a chance if that was the case, but... What? Okay, so they took the territory, but they got routed. So we got another one of these weird events coming on here. And they got routed and won the territory, but there's no commanding officer in the territory. So, whatever. It just happened, I guess. So now they declared a profit, finally. And it looks like they're just buying a hell of a lot of Shamblers. Or they bought a lot of Shamblers. It's kind of weird, and they're setting them up in line formation, which they can do because they have standard bearers, which helps out with the morale of the units. Machaka is stalling a little bit, understandably, because they had to get a commanding officer unit to that front line to pick up those remaining Black Hunters. And it looks like Agartha is setting up for multiple turn attacks, or multiple attacks in one turn, by splitting up their Shambler units. We have a neutral uprising in Nidian Ridge, but before that, let us see the attack of Machaka. I think this is going to be getting Machaka to the borders, or maybe one territory away from the borders of Agartha. Pretty much a guaranteed victory for Machaka here, but you know, these Ichthyid warriors might do some damage against the Black Hunters. I don't really know. I know how strong they can be, but I guess they're able to tank the spears of the Ichthyid warriors. I don't think they're gonna even lose one of their Black Hunters. Okay, I was calling them Black Hunters, and I keep calling them Black Hunters, but like something in my mind was telling me they're called Black Huntresses for some reason. But no, okay, I was calling them the right name. I don't think they're gonna lose a single one. These are very strong units, to say the least. So because of the magic of Madoma, they get enough points to get the reinvigoration, which helps out with long drawn out battles, and then they have enough nature magic of Madoma to get the HP bonus. But that's pretty much it for the bless effects for Machaka. However, the multiple sacred units of Agartha, I saw a hoplite in the bottom of that, so they fielded a couple of hoplites. But the sacred units of Agartha, there's 3 of them. They'll be getting a bunch of really strong buffs because of Pebbleheart. But they have to feel the priest in order to get that. And I'm pretty sure Machaka's going to lose this territory to the barbarian swarms. These barbarians are more annoying than the barbarians in Civ 6, and those motherfuckers are really annoying. So yeah, we're at the borders. The two nations have finally met each other. I doubt we'll get a war anytime soon, but as I said, Agartha definitely was setting up for multiple province takes in a single turn. Hopefully they're able to do it. This is the slightly attritioned independent force they fought before. I think this front line should hold better than the Trog front line that they had last time. However, their shield units, which should be able to help this out, are in a very bad position, and I think there's going to be some friendly fire here. No, there's not. Okay. Fireflies, killing some of these longbowmen, which for some reason are skirmishing. I'm not entirely sure why those longbowmen moved up into the front line, but Agartha should take this, and they indeed do take it. We can check the blessings here. So they have reinvigoration as well. So they have enough death magic on Pebbleheart to get Undying. They have enough Astral to get magic resistance. They have enough Earth magic to get protection +5 and reinvigoration +4. So I mean, it's not the most mind-blowing sacred buffs, but they're pretty decent, to say the least. And actually, we kind of just skipped out of the map process to see how these other battles are going. So we know how Agartha takes another territory, the one closer to their southern reaches of their main province, but I don't think we saw if they took this province or It's possible that they do, but you know, you gotta respect archers from Deer Tribe, because you never know if one of those stray like arrows, or they're gonna lose their commander right here. Oh, this is very bad. Oh, this is very bad for Agartha. Oh. This is why, my friends, this is why you set your commanding officers to either do nothing and just stay in the back, have them cast spells, cast specific spells, but always make sure that they have it set some way, either stay behind allied troops some way so that they don't get into the fray, because you have no control over your units in battle. So you never really know what they're gonna actually do. And you should just always be cautious, because like if we look at this, I think there's where's the commanding officer of this group? He's mixed in somewhere. I've lost track of him. I can't see him, but he could potentially be moving up through the Shamblers. But luckily they were able to obviously take that province. We're kind of spoiled. We kind of saw that they took it before. But this is a failed assault because of unlucky unit orders and placement by the AI, which is not always good to see. And I'm wondering if we're gonna get to the point. Big turn by Machaka here. I wonder if we're gonna get to a point in this match that Pebbleheart's even gonna come out, because these nations are expanding relatively quick. They're taking between 1 to 3 territories on average a turn. And Machaka's really pumping out the units here. As I said, both of these nations, I kind of like their aesthetic. I like the Spider Riders. It's another thing that kind of reminds me of Warhammer Fantasy, like spider riding goblins and stuff like that. This is why are you sending a villain force here? Or is this, oh, hold up. Okay, so these are Lion Tribe. So they sent a small group of villains. They shouldn't be able to take this. But anyway, like as I said, I like both these factions aesthetically. I have played Agartha in the past, so I have some knowledge of how they were. But I'm not like totally fanboying behind them like I did with Aramor, Asphodel, Ulm, Man, or Relay. So if it's really possible looking at this, sure these are tier 1 cavalry which have 0 armor. They have a bunch of attacks available to them. They're kind of like barbarians in the sense they can do a lot of damage in a turn, but they'll die relatively quick. But luckily, they function kind of like the, Jesus, it's so loud with all these spider noises. They function the same way as like some certain type of monster mounts work, kind of like the Serpent Cataphracts of Pythium. That they can, once the rider dies, they get another life essentially with the monster itself, and we already saw this one. So I mean, they made 2 good assaults, which is good. Were unable to take Kunal with their weird villain force. I don't know why they decided to make that attack. So Agartha could go neutral on amount of territories gained because they're attacking 2 territories if they take both, and both teams are making the same amount of progress, which is going to get us to the point of global conflict sooner rather than later. But at this point, I honestly feel that it's going to be a long game. Both of these nations are pushing relatively evenly, so that means it's going to be a while, I think, before one feels that they can declare war on the other. And it's just going to be a long game. I just feel it in my bones. Like, Agartha is fielding very strong units, don't get me wrong, but when I see that many Black Hunters or that many cavalry in general, I don't know how Agartha is going to get through this. I mean, their mages might come through. They are definitely getting some spells like the Earth Grab move, and I guess I normally have Fireflies, so I guess that doesn't really matter, but those are pretty much only the magic I've seen them cast. So they were able to take it, and they are at my border. So this is another possible win con, which I think Agartha has the best chance of pulling out here, simply because they might have the, I don't know, desire or belief that they can take me out simply because of the amount of siege damage bonus on pretty much almost all of their really decent units. If they just had a large enough force at my borders, they just might declare war on me and take me out and win that way. So that, I mean, the match could be over relatively quick if that's the case. Machaka is having a relatively stale turn, while Agartha is still pushing out, though we don't know if they take any of these territories. Relatively small force of shamblers and stone hurlers. We've finally seen some stone hurling action here. And that one missed. This guy's not doing so well with his aim. The commanding officer is right here, right in the midst of this this fight. So, unfortunately, they were not lucky enough to target that dude. If they were, then Agartha would have been able to take that match. Hopefully, Agartha is able to take this match against this Deer Tribe unit. And they have Deer Tribe and Wolf Tribe. Oh, never mind, it's all Wolf Tribe here. They all look the same. Wolf Tribe and Deer Tribe all look the same to me. They have both factions, I believe, have the like rogues with daggers and also the short bows. I don't know the nuances between Wolf Tribe and Deer Tribe. Always mix them up. But you know, Agartha's doing pretty good. If they push out a couple more territories, this is gonna really hamper. What the hell is hamper? Hamper the growth of Machaka here. They take this territory, which is unlikely in the next few turns. So it's possible that Machaka will take it. If they cut off the expansion here, 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 or here. It's unlikely that Machaka is going to win this simply because of the territory advantage of Agartha. And the longer the match goes before war is declared, it's very possible that Agartha is just going to win simply because of a overwhelming lead of resources. And it looks like they're having a similar idea. They're moving their main force. I'm assuming they're going to go for Osandius, and there might be a double attack onto Osandius in next turn or the turn after by both factions. They're going for Kunal, which is the territory they lost. It's probably a good call for them. I mean, I don't know why they sent a villain force into Kunal. It's kind of like a civil war here between the Lion Tribe and Spider Tribe of Machaka here. But I always bet on giant spiders. I don't care how many lions you bring to the field. When there's like this many giant spiders, you always bet on giant spiders. Though this placement lacks something to be desired immensely. Like their hoplites are stuck behind all of their cavalry. How is this good placement at all? Looks like, yeah, they're probably gonna go for Osandius next turn. There might be a double attack, as I said. Agartha was setting up for that. I don't know what this unit is gonna be going for. They're building a castle on a province that doesn't really have any enemy attack potential. I could understand building one here right next to Man, because I'm an enemy to them, but like this seems a little bit far off for building a castle here. A little confusing, but you know, the AI makes some strange calls. And Agartha is going for Osandius and Giant Spire at the same time. I'm surprised we didn't get a double attack by these nations. This is not a very good position to be in for Machaka, despite them having pretty good military force on the field. I don't know if they're ready to declare war on Agartha, however. So this is like really going to start to starve Machaka out of resources. The majority of the continent now is on the side of Agartha, like in neutral territory wise, and it's pretty much impossible for Machaka to get around to take any more of the remaining neutral territories without declaring war on Agartha. So this attack, they might take the province still, but this Merc attack is pretty much almost gone here. This is a very strange Merc attack. So they didn't completely seal off the neutrals by taking Giant Spider. This Deer Tribe Archers, which is too much for a normal Merc unit. Almost completely wiped out. It's no Giuseppe, man. Speaking of Giuseppe, is he available yet? No, we have the Far Strikers. I don't know who the hell the Far Strikers are. And I guess they wouldn't be completely cut off because there's still this territory available to Machaka. Actually, no, they have to go across the water. If Giant Spire was taken by Agartha, all of these territories would be denied. I suppose they can still take the water territory, the Blue Water Lake here, or they can obviously go into the water if they get some magic or something, or they find a Shambler Cave, but it's unlikely that there will be another Shambler Cave on the map, seeing as how Agartha already found one. And this might be a very quick match. They are definitely setting up to take the neutrals probably first, but when you have this many units that get siege bonus on your border, you gotta be a little bit concerned. Let's see, we got 21, 50, we about 100 and 130, 140 units. I think that's enough for a unit to feel confident to declare war against a singular province, but you never know. And since Machaka has been stalling so much, they're probably going to lose like some territories here due to neutrals. We got some trolls here. We all know how good trolls are with a regen, but they're not going to be able to take this territory. They might be able to kill maybe a couple of black hunters, but look how much HP a black hunter has. 55 HP. That's insane. So they might be able to kill like a couple black hunters, but these trolls are getting poisoned. And the poison is higher than their like regen or equal to their regen. If there's a war between Machaka and Agartha, those black hunters are gonna be a huge problem for Agartha. And it looks like Machaka is fielding units at the border, the southern border of Machaka and Agartha. But they're going for Giant Spire again, this time with a bunch of shamblers, some militia, 2 stone hurlers, and a commanding officer, and maybe like just, what is this guy? Just the shard guard. So he's not a specific commander, he's just a normal shard guard. I don't see why they don't take this. The shamblers should make this like a quick fight. They have enough HP to withstand a couple of the short bow attacks by the Deer Tribe, and that's why they were able to push through. Did they split their forces to take both of the territories on the flanks of Man? I think they may have, because this is a smaller force than what they had fielded. I think they broke up the human squads and the Pale One squads. And they did it. Not too surprising when you have units with pretty good armor, such as the Agarthan infantry and then the heavy infantry later, with that much just average defensive ability. It's really hard to break them when you are just like fighting normal neutrals, like militia neutrals and whatnot. And I think they did indeed split up. I would like to see more like either like going harder into stone hurlers or going harder into the more melee focused elder ones, or ancient ones rather. When you have like this few stone hurlers, they don't really come into play. Oh, hold up. We got some cave grubs being like made through magic spells. That's kind of cool. I haven't seen, I didn't even know that was a magic spell, but there's some cave grubs for you. They also have siege bonus. Holy fuck, 10 siege bonus. I guess it kind of makes sense, you know? Like things that could potentially maybe dig underneath the walls and undermine walls of fortresses. I guess that kind of makes sense. They have corrosive bite, which causes corrosion, which probably reduces enemy armor. If it's anything like the Curse of Rust that we saw before. I think Agartha might win this at any point if they just decide to declare war on Man. And Machaka is not doing too much of anything, mainly because they can't do too much of anything, though we might see a war being declared here. This is a huge army on the border of Agartha. Agartha might be declared war upon by Machaka next turn. And not surprisingly, Agartha is going for the water territories because they have the ability for most of their like higher tier units being poor amphibians, and they also have the shambler spawning place, so they can buy shamblers. So this is pretty much a guaranteed victory for them, unless their commanding officer gets like really cocky and gets killed, which is, you know, the possibility. I mean, he's starting to come around, though he didn't get focused, so. It looks like Agartha will be taking the blue sea or blue water or whatever this ocean place is. Blue water. And I guess we kind of already knew that if we looked at Machaka's turn. But, you know, when I look at the unit counts for Agartha here, they don't seem too crazy. Let's look at some score graphs here and turn off Man because I don't need to see it. Wow, actually they have a larger army size. That is very surprising to me. It looked like Machaka had more units than Agartha. And you know, thing about Machaka, they can field some really cheap units to boost that score. So that's a little strange, honestly. Income's going the way of Agartha. Not too surprisingly, with the bonuses that both factions get to gold income, the 50% gain to both of them, and the fact that Agartha gets a static increase because of cave forts. You can see this right here at the very start. Like, this is the difference between the two, the bonus that Agartha's getting. And there was a time where even with that bonus, Machaka was pushing out, but maybe this is the beginning of the end for Machaka. We can see this when their stalling started, and then we can see these massive turn growths for Agartha. So I don't know. We have to see. Eventually, one of these factions are gonna go and declare war, and then it has happened. Blood rituals are cheaper. Machaka couldn't handle it anymore, and it was indeed they decided to attack this province. This is some bad unit placement. Once again, the hoplites are stuck behind the weaker infantry, and they're probably attached to the same unit as well. Though this is a freaking large battle, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who's favored here. It's a lot of ancient ones, stone hurlers, but you know, you gotta respect spiders causing permanent poison damage to the rest of the fight. Causes a lot of damage over time, and hoplites are the highest tier infantry available. Besides, I guess, the ambidextrous, like, assassin dude. But, like, even then, see, this is the issue. They fielded their hoplites behind their weak units, and because of that, the weaker units died and reduced morale to the entire group. So they only had to lose a couple hoplites before the entire army broke. So this is very bad for Machaka. Sure, they're building a castle here, and they have a lot of units being fielded here, with probably like a bunch of black hunters if you look. Yeah, they have a bunch of black hunters here. So Agartha going on the offensive here is probably not the best thing for Agartha, unless we check to see where their units are placed, which we will right now. So yeah, going aggressive here is probably not the best choice for them. However, they could probably take the southern Old Forest relatively easily, and they've built in forts. So this one's complete. I don't know what they're doing here. They were like seemingly preparing for an attack, I would assume, against man, but now that they're at war against Machaka, I don't think the AI wants to go on the aggressive. And they are going for Old Forest because it's the easier battle. They might lose their territory up north, and we can actually see how these giant grubs work. Maybe at one point I summon some of these, because they don't look too crazy to me. Actually, no, they're gonna lose this battle. They're straight up gonna lose this battle because the Black Hunter's too strong, man. They're a very strong sacred unit, and as I was saying, that like that might be the saving grace for Machaka. Like, despite them being behind in a lot of aspects, having a couple Black Hunters really destroys enemy units, because the amount of damage they can just pump out in a turn, and then like sustain damage on top of that because of the poison. This is pretty much a guaranteed victory. I don't think we need to watch it. So this is very good for Machaka. They were able to hold as well as push. And Agartha's looking a little weak here. I'm gonna be honest. They're going for some of the remaining neutrals. So I mean, that's good for them if they are able to take them. They're using some mercs. They're using the longbow mercs. They should take this, barring something crazy, because they're already routing the militia neutrals simply because of how much damage they can pump out. Though now they're forced to skirmish, but they killed enough so they could effectively skirmish, kill a few militiamen, and then rout the rest. So that's good for them. And unfortunately, there's a potential uprising in the exact territory that they just took. Oh, I don't know if they're able to take this against the Vinemen. They might get lucky and kill the commanding officer here. But the fact that these Vinemen are going to be healed every turn, and now they're going to just wreak havoc against... Yeah. That's unfortunate for Agartha. This is very freaking unfortunate for them. Blood magic rituals are still cheaper this month. Agartha's starting to see the problem at their borders and starting to field more of their units, moving some of them away from the potential siege of man. And there was a lot of turns, or at least a very long battle. And there was a lot of turns. We could go neutral on territory gains here. Both factions are taking potentially 2 territories each. Machaka will not be able to hold this at all. I mean, they could maybe get lucky with some of their arrows because there's some commanding officers placed very weirdly, like this, like really gloriously incandescent, decrepit rather, ancient one. He's also got a siege bonus. He's got fortune teller, which is kind of nice, but doesn't really do too much for this battle. And the ambidextrous guys are going down relatively quick. But not without a fight. They're pumping out that damage, the 2 attacks per turn. We got some pygmies here that are immediately running away because giant rocks the size of their entire bodies are being thrown at them. Larger than their bodies. So that's a good battle for Agartha, but I can't imagine that this attacking force by Machaka doesn't succeed here. It seems like it's pretty much a foregone conclusion because this was the force that took that territory to begin with. The fact that it's got the hoplites as well as the ambidextrous dudes, a bunch of cavalry, and then the archers to back up all of this, I am pretty sure there's no way Agartha's like barbarian defense force can hold up against this. Though, you know, as I always say, barbarians do respectable damage. They did some very respectable damage against the Spider Riders and whatever units were here. Seeing as how these are like top tier units and barbarians are pretty low tier units, they were able to like hold their own. Look at these cave grubs. This is a huge battle. We're gonna see. I think maybe Machaka is fielding more points. If we like count up resource and gold here. These black hunters are going to be the thing that dictates who wins here. The infantry assaulting the flank of Agartha here are relatively weak, but it looks like maybe they're breaking. I don't know. Like there's some Agarthian stone throwers that are facing the other direction. I don't think Agartha's going to take this, if I'm going to be honest. These black hunters are not dying. Maybe the riders are being killed, so I mean that's causing some permanent damage to them. The fact that they're losing their riders, but no, it doesn't look like the riders are going down. There's like a black hunter that died right there, but it looks like the armies of Agartha are fleeing now. This is not looking good. This was what I was afraid of. I was afraid of the unbalance of black riders, because I have played Machaka a couple times and I was immediately attracted to the Tarantula Riders here. And when I played as them, they felt incredibly strong, and they are indeed incredibly strong. Some of the highest tier units that Agartha could put out just by buying units could not deal with the terror that was the Black Hunters. Though it looks like the Burgmeister Hobbits have been fielded by Machaka here, but I don't think they're going to be able to take this force. There's too many units here. These units defending this province by Agartha are going to be able to get the surround, and that's pretty much the bane of Hobbits. Just lost their commander. Bane of Hobbits are getting the surround on them because they benefit on surrounding others, because they could get like 6 or so units on a square because of their smaller size. They're harder to hit. They can pump out massive amounts of damage. But when they're outnumbered to this extent, you can't really benefit from it, unfortunately. So both factions took 1 territory and successfully defended 1 territory each, so it's an even turn. Though let's look at territories gained. This is the one that Agartha got. This is pretty much going to guarantee the demise probably of this territory, because it's completely cut off from the rest of their nation. They don't have supply lines, and Agartha can probably just all focus it. So Agartha's got to be really careful about a counterattack by Machaka. Though all things considered, this is the main reason this force is scary, is because of the Black Hunters. They did a lot of damage to like the normal bog standard units of Machaka. Like they're just like they're tier 1 like militia neutrals and whatnot. But both factions are suffering attrition damage. And, you know, Agartha's going on the aggressive here. So, I'm not Agartha, but Machaka is going on the aggressive here. And they probably are going to push really hard into the territory of Agartha simply because of the Black Hunters. If the AI continued or continues to build Black Hunters, there's like zero chance they lose this engagement, this battle between Agartha, just because of how strong these tarantulas are. However, the AI probably stopped buying them at some point. Oh, we have Rust Mist being cast onto the hoplites. You gotta love that earth magic coming into play here. Though, you know, the hoplites are scary, don't get me wrong. The fact that they have those hoplite shields and they're incredibly tanky. The main issue that Agartha is going to be facing here are those Black Hunters. They're doing damage to them, and they routed the Black Hunters. Though, like, a lot of Agarthian units are being routed as well. But Agartha's going to take it. They're going to hold it simply because of the amount of archers they're just spamming on the field. And I gotta say that maybe between Flying Shards, Earth Might, and Rust Mist, that was able to hold. That was a very good defense by Agartha. It might just mean the tide shift of this this military strength of Black Hunters. Because I haven't seen additional Black Hunters being fielded. It's kind of similar to how the computer played Relay. They bought a decent amount of Mind Flayer Illithids, but then they stopped building them. They decided to move into Slaves, and going Slaves late game when you could be building Mind Flayers. Basically, I think that's the main reason why Relay lost the match between Atlantis. Spoiler alert, probably should have said that first, but you know, I don't think it matters too much because this is only round 1. So I'm not saying that Machaka has lost this. And we skipped one. I gotta remember to go up one and watch it. But the fact that they don't seem to be building Black Hunters at the rate that they should be. I mean, at the very least, they should be building 1 per turn. You know, at the very least, so there's some growth in the Black Hunter squad. But it doesn't seem like that's happening. And because of that, I do not know if Machaka, if they continue on this path, I don't think they can win. Because if the AI of Agartha just decides to stop building stone hurlers and then going into like these spear dudes instead for these ancient ones, or decide to go into shard hunters, all of those are relatively strong units. So they're not really going to be punished for that. And like even their humanoids are really decent. The heavy infantry is really good, but like their normal infantry are good. Their militia not so much. They're pretty foddery. So we have another force of Black Hunters here, and they're just going to immediately rout Agartha. So, I mean, they're making some inroads here, but unsurprisingly, it's going to be like this change of units every turn, where like Agartha's going to go for the weaker territory, and then this territory is going to be taken. It's going to be like this endless cycle. But let's check out the recruitment here. They're not recruiting any units. So the AI is like deciding, you know, I don't need any more units. I'm good. And they really don't have a lot of Black Hunters. They're deciding to go heavy into pygmies for whatever reason, and like heavy spider riders. Heavy spider riders are good, so that's a respectable choice. I'm not too upset about that. Though, you know, this attrition, this battle against all these spiders are causing some massive damages to the forces of Agartha. What is Agartha building? They're they're transitioning to the spear ancient ones, which I thought they should have been doing before. I feel like they're a better front line. They can use their higher hit points in conjunction with their higher armor rating than just these guys that only have the scale cuirass. But the AI, again, is showing they don't understand the concept of holy points, but feeling way more than they can afford in holy points. This could be a nice counterattack by Agartha. They're going for 3 territories. If they take 2, they can counteract the assault made by Machaka last turn, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to take this. Though their placement is so weird. Why place your magician so far up in this? Like, he could die and that would be over. Like, I'm sure he's not the commanding officer of a lot of these forces, because magicians and mages typically have lower leadership values, but losing a magician is not what you want. You don't want to lose your mage that could turn the tides of unfortunate or ill-balanced battles, you know? So it looks like the Spider Priestess Black Hunter group has tied up with the other Black Hunter, like actual infantry unit group. This is gonna be a complete slaughter fest right here. These guys stand zero chance, these woodsmen. Maybe they did some damage to the spiders over here. Maybe it's permanent wounds, who knows, but that was a pretty much guaranteed loss on the part of Agartha. They weren't going to be able to hold that. Even if they fielded like a force like this, I'd be concerned if they would be able to hold it. The stone throwers, I just want to see them transition away from the stone throwers, and that's indeed what they're doing. They're going to the spear guys, and I like seeing the spear ones, though their placement of units is kind of strange. They're putting the shamblers ahead of the ancient ones, and sure, the ancient ones are a little slower than shamblers, so the shamblers are going to naturally move ahead. So that's why you have to put the shamblers behind, so they get to the just after the movement of your ancient ones. You just gotta understand your movement of your troops so that you can balance it, so that your slower, tankier units can get there still before your faster units. If you set it up right. This is a very strange attack. Not attack, but I don't know who's gonna win here. There's a lot of spiders being fielded by Machaka here, and that's poison damage that's gonna kill these tankier units by Agartha, and it's gonna make some of the infantry up top flee. I'm not sure who's gonna come out on top of this. The fact that Agartha's fleeing first probably means that Agartha's gonna flee, but they still have a lot of archers in the back. Both factions have a whole lot of archers in the back. There's a lot of breaking going on both sides here. I think Agartha's gonna break though. I don't know. See, it's crazy. Okay, no, Machaka got routed. Both of these factions were on the brink of being routed. The fact that the spiders got up close and personal with the archers in the back of Agartha made me think that Agartha was gonna break first, but luckily enough units were killed on part of Machaka to make Agartha win. So that's good for them. And now this force, though this is the scary force, this is the force with the Black Hunters, though it is completely cut off now. And if we go to look at Agartha's forces here, and they're actually going into the ocean, I'm surprised I didn't go earlier, seeing as how, you know, their units are aquatic. They should be able to take this, I would think. Shamblers are strong, don't get me wrong, but when they have this many ancient ones, wet ones, yeah, I think they should be able to take it, and they do. So this is going to only help them and help boost their economy. But let us take a look at the forces surrounding this forest of gun. Forest of gun. I would be willing to bet that the AI has realized the threat that is in the forest of gun, and I feel like they probably are going to field all of their units into this at one battle. I think Agartha needs to realize that Black Hunters are freaking bad for them, and they have to really they have to basically win through mass point advantages here, simply because of how efficient Black Hunters are. They can't do it any other way, and they indeed are going for Forest of Gun, and I'm curious to see if they're able to take it. Okay, so it looks like the AI moved out of the Forest of Gun into one of the lesser defended territories. And I guess I could have assumed that they would do that the AI wouldn't have just stuck around in one territory. So I guess it's good that the forces of Agartha didn't just straight up just mass into Forest of Gun. But this is not a very good place for Machaka to be, because if they keep moving south, which might be what they're doing, let's see what's happening in the Old Forest. So this is the other border province that Agartha has some units placed there. But it's definitely not enough to hold that back. 4 Black Hunters and this many spiders, unfortunately. And like the defensive value of this full plate, I think this is the real broken part of these Black Hunters. They have so much defensive value that even like these shard dudes that are coming in and doing damage, they're doing like maybe like 1 or 2 damage. They have to get completely surrounded in order for any damage to be done. So the fact that he got surrounded by this Archer squad in basic costumes around. It's kind of funny. But unfortunately, they're not going to hold because they're going to lose the commander to the massive noise machines that are just spiders. So, you know, maybe they're going to cause curse. They need to start focusing. These shard hunters need to hit more high-value targets with their glaive, causing a permanent curse debuff. It's not anything to really be to like undervalue here. Like, you have to realize that that's a permanent thing. I mean, there's magic that I think can take it away, but being cursed is something that is not something you want. And the fact that these guys are sacred too, man, they get so many buffs. I'm glad I decided not to go full mage or full like sacred buffs for Machaka. I feel like they would just be incredibly strong. If these spiders had Undying or God forbid regeneration, oh man, it would be impossible to deal with them. Like, a couple of spiders probably could take out any faction at that point. And I think I need to like keep that in mind. Maybe if I decide to like make some like broken gods for some other season, maybe perhaps I put Machaka with regeneration magic as a shrine buff or a blessing. It's gonna be close. Agartha's lost a lot of units, but it looks like it's going the way of Agartha here. So let's quit out of that battle replay and take a look at the map. Agartha's gonna probably continue their water advance to take water territories. I don't see why they wouldn't. Let us actually go to Agartha's side of things. We're kind of spoiled that they already took this, you know, but it's not surprising. They're using the wet ones to take water territories. Let's take a look at the Dominion here. This is Machaka Dominion. I think this is Man Dominion. So like my Dominion is relatively still kicking. I mean, it's getting kind of low, so this match could end at any point in time. But these factions, I mean, I guess Agartha's going in on the cathedrals. Hopefully Machaka doesn't assault this territory before a castle gets built there. I want to see more churches on provinces to make these matches go by quicker. They're summoning wolves. I hope now I want Machaka to die. I want them to lose. The fact that they're using their magical gems to summon wolves. It's such a waste. Such a waste. Couldn't you be like making a better magical item for your commanding officers? Couldn't you find like another spell to be using that other than summon wolves? Even if summon wolves has like dire wolves in it, it's still not worth it. I don't know, like these black hunters are just really broken, dude. Like they really are broken. But like talking about them, like keeps reminding me of like Goblin Spider Riders, but you know, I talked about it before. I do have a bunch of mods, or mod races for Warhammer Fantasy. I have Tomb Kings, Skaven. I have a specific Chaos faction for Nurgle. I have, I think, a specific faction for Khorne. I have Bretonia, which is pretty much just Kingdom of Man, if I'm gonna be honest. And all these factions have like some unique gods associated with them, or commanding officers. So for Skaven, you can have bunch of like the demon Skaven and whatnot. And so maybe the season that I do next won't be like called season 2, it'll be called Warhammer Fantasy Season or something like that. And we can go through that. Though be warned, I don't think there's no way that all of these mods were made by the same person. And even if they were, no way would they all be balanced. So it's gonna be a shit fest to say the least. We're definitely gonna see which is the most broken one. And since it's like there's less of them available, and I don't think I'm gonna make a complete tournament with the ones that I have, and I don't even think I have all of like the sub factions that you can have for Warhammer Fantasy. So it'll be shorter. Maybe I'll make it only like an 8-person tournament, or maybe a max 10-person tournament, because this 30-person tournament is really draining me of energy. Machaka is getting routed here, so that's good for Agartha. They're able to hold that. Are they? No, they're not recruiting any more spiders. They're at their. They decided that they're at their spider limit. Though I am concerned about Agartha here. seeing as how the main scary force of spiders are assaulting their keep here. And they don't really have a counter to this at this point. They're still building like the sacred units nonstop. I would like to see them build some Trog slaves. They have the gold to do it. They're getting so much income per turn. Their upkeep's only 550, so they can definitely afford to bump. They can get 5 per turn, so they can spend 250 a turn on just Trogs from their main keep and still be making a profit here. Because their upkeep would still be less than their total income. I just don't know why they're not decided to do that. Unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Trogs obviously are not the best thing in the game. They're slaves, and they have the morale penalties and all of that jazz. But they're pretty good when they only cost 1 resource. They're a gold sink, they're efficient on resources, and you can spam them, and there's definitely a better... they're not trash because they cost gold. A very bad assault by Agartha here. I don't know what the fuck happened here. They had way more units fielded that were higher tier, like shrine units. Very strange, to say the least. And I do not think that Agartha is going to be able to hold this at all. There's too many black hunters, and then just normal spiders too. Like I know I keep going on and on about black hunters, but the normal spiders are scary too. Anything with poison in this game is scary to go up against. Though, you know, normal spiders are a little bit easier to kill. They don't have the protection values that black hunters do. I just don't think Agartha has the counter to these, and then Agartha might need to just hope and pray that they just somehow stave off these assaults long enough to win, maybe by Dominion. Though, I don't know. I don't even know if Agartha is winning on Dominion here. But yeah, if you're watching this, which is unlikely, if you're watching this on Twitch right now or on YouTube, and you want to see me maybe do the next season and do Warhammer Fantasy Dominions 4, let me know. I mean, if like a single person lets me know that they would like to see Warhammer Fantasy Dominions 4. Whoa, holy shit, they held. Agartha held here. That is interesting. I mean, I didn't see any Black Hunters, but they were able to hold against a lot of these ambidextrous guys. But if you'd like to see that Dominions 4 Warhammer Fantasy Battle Tournament thing or whatever, let me know, and I will set that up. I don't know if I'm going to create additional spreadsheets or just mod the spreadsheets that I already have. We already watched this one? Yeah, we already watched this one. There's disease spreading along the forces of Machaka. So that's a potential boon for Agartha. And they're finally taking this last like neutral land territory that's been on like the cusp forever. Whoa, did you guys see that? Was that like the game loading? All the units in this fight? What the fuck was that? It popped up in this top part of the map for like a split second. I have no idea what the fuck that was. Agartha's buying mercs, which is good for them. They were able to take, defend this territory, obviously, because we saw that already. They were able to take this territory. Never mind, there's like this neutral territory still left, and there's obviously these 2 water ones left. What are they planning to do next turn? I think they're gonna have to lose that the castle territory. I don't think they can protect that castle at this point. They're not gonna be able to break the siege. I mean, they might with this sizable force here, but like if you look at these units, they're not really all that great. There's just a lot of them, so potential surrounds of the Black Hunters might be happening. There's some ogres, a bunch of shamblers, some normal infantry of Agartha, a lot of militia. I don't see any heavy infantry. If they get the back attacks, that's how you kill them. I don't think they are going to get the back attack, and they're taking some massive damage from the amount of archers being fielded by Machaka here. Though Rust is now doing no work at all. It's like rusting units that don't have any armor associated with them. Or like weapons, really. I actually don't think this is going to be a successful assault, unfortunately. And like 0 damage has been done to these guys. Mother of God. One of the riders got killed, so there's that. Another rider got killed. So they're just the tarantulas. So they have less, they don't have the armor associated with them. They only have venomous fangs, so I mean that's a good sign for Agartha. But when you look at the hit points of the spider itself has so many hit points. So it becomes less about damage absorption and more of just raw HP, which would be amazing with regeneration because they have so much HP. So to show them how fucking broken potentially regeneration. So we have 2 spiders here. They're just the hunter spiders, so we don't have the guys on top. And as you can see, they're just eating up that damage. They're surrounded and they're taking constant damage a turn, and they're still surviving. That was a 30 damage hit. Holy hell. But it looks like this was a bad assault. When they don't have at least like 5 black hunters, I don't think a Machaka can really do too much. And also, kind of unfortunately for Agartha, the map generation didn't spawn multiple caves for them, so they can't really use the racial bonus of getting additional money just because of the cave bonuses that they have. So that's unfortunate for them. I honestly feel like this assaulting force of Machaka is taken out. I don't know if they can win. I mean, they're doing massive, and I mean massive damage to Agartha. If we look at their units that they're fielding in their provinces to potentially counterattack, like it's pretty pathetic. But I don't know if they can come back if this assault fails by Machaka. Though I mean, it's doing well. Don't get me wrong; it's nowhere near failing. They're holding off attacks that I don't think they should be holding off, simply because of army unit value-wise. But obviously they're gonna win this one. We don't need to necessarily watch it. Let's look at the map here. See, this is why I believe Machaka is gonna fail. This right here, this wolf, this giant mantis summoning. They're getting spider warriors, which is good for them. But it's the lack of, what the hell are these? Well, these are clockwork soldiers. The lack of getting any more black hunters, and they totally can. They totally can get more black hunters. They don't even cost holy resources, I don't think. Maybe they do, because they're sacred. I don't want to click it because then it might fuck up the AI. It just doesn't say that they take holy resource. But they're sacred, so they do. Oh, there's a special event in Agartha. That's the ghost special event. Just punch the fuck out of the ghost. But if we look at this, like, it's pretty attrition, if I have to say. There's probably going to be an attack onto Strong Bay next turn. I'm surprised, actually, they were able to mail the fort before Luis got there. So I don't know if Luis is actually going to be able to break into that castle before he loses his like contract bonus or whatever for the group of Agartha here. He's got 2 turns to bust that castle or to get reinforcements. I mean, I suppose it's possible that he gets reinforcements in that time, but you know, I'm always a little concerned. Okay, so if there was any more like decent units here, these wolves would have gone down, and I honestly would think that this would be the end of this assault, despite there being black hunters. If there was like slightly better units on the front line, I honestly think Machaka would have failed that because of the morale penalties of the wolves running from battle. One's on fire. I mean, I guess more and more magic that comes into play, the more efficient it is going to be against these guys. And you can already see it happening right now. The destruction coming here And I guess Earth Grip to some degree. No, Earth Grip's being cast by... I don't know. Both factions are getting Earth Grip, but Destruction is causing some massive damage to these Black Hunters. The fact is now that all of these Black Hunters are just Hunter Spiders, because the Riders have been killed. So this is the attrition damage that I was talking about. Or... oh, we already watched this. Unsurprisingly, they're going for Strong Bay. They were fielding for that. We don't need to watch. This is a guaranteed one for them. Forest of Gun here. You're gonna take Forest of Gun, and they probably are. If they don't, that would be quite the upset. This is not a good place for Agartha here. This, in fact, there's no like supply lines. I mean, I guess there is actually a supply line, which is kind of weird. All of these territories are connected through the water. And I guess they are also connected here. I didn't realize there was a connection here. So never mind. I just want Agartha to like come out of this. Like it's like they're the underdog simply because of how strong Black Hunters are. You know? Like, if there was engagements without the Hunters, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, that's like changing how a faction plays here, but, you know, none of the units from Agartha seem to be that broken on the battlefield. I mean, obviously the counter 2 armor is magic, but I just don't know. Even with magic and destruction causing that damage to overturn, it just seems like it's too much. Like, even when they're doing, like, all this massive damage against these units, they're just too efficient. I would never say to nerf them. I feel like all these factions have to have their, like, unique quirks. I don't think Machaka needs a nerf, or I don't think the Black Hunters need a nerf. You can definitely kill them if you get the right set of units, or you use mages, or if you have a lot of good sacred units, which, you know, Agartha has some good sacred units, they just need to get the priests into battle. They can do it. It's just that I don't know if the AI can realize what is basically causing them to lose these scenarios here. It's not so much just that Machaka is just outmaneuvering them. It's the fact that they have to figure out a counter, an effective counter to the giant spiders that have a lot of armor and then have a second life that have a lot of HP. If these Jaguar Warriors win this, it'd probably be the first time I've ever seen Jaguar Warriors in the sense of neutrals ever winning anything. So, I mean, it was probably pretty close. They were causing a lot of morale damage. Take a look at the map. I'm surprised that they're not using the Wet Ones. The Wet Ones mercenaries, which they hired again. I'm surprised they're not using them to get the last 2 water territories on the map. Because Agartha definitely needs a huge advantage of territories for income to even stand a chance against Machaka's just really strong units at this point. They're going for the assaulting force again this time. Let's take a look. All of them have riders? No, okay, 3 of them have riders. 4 of them have riders. If they kill the riderless ones, it's going to cause them probably to break, which looks like it's going to happen. They're getting the surround on the riderless ones. No, the riders are getting up front. The Stone Hurlers did a lot of damage to that dude. I think it's because they have the surround, which is the key for this. But even that, they just killed. They killed two of the spiders, and that's it. That's all they could accomplish. Oh my god. Man, those spiders really do work wonders with archers. They're able to like just really tank damage, you know? So allowing the archers to get multiple volleys off. And we don't need to watch this. It's a guaranteed victory by Agartha. So not Agartha, Machaka. Machaka's doing insanely well right now. And it's getting really close to me being dom killed. If you look at the map here, we are on Man, Agartha's turn? No, we're on Machaka. What is Machaka doing? No way Machaka has all this Dominion. They do? How the fuck do they have this much Dominion? Oh, it's because they've been, see? I wasn't paying attention every turn. Maybe you guys were, but we have all of these little churches, and we probably have someone preaching in a couple of them. I don't actually see anyone preaching, but they have a bunch of these churches, and they're pushing Dominion out crazy. I thought this was the Dominion of Agartha, and that would make sense, but I'm one turn away from being Dom killed. It looks like Machaka is gonna take this. Agartha, I think, had a chance of doing it. I really did. They were doing really good early game here, but they started doing this like stall mechanic, and then like they couldn't get past the strength of the Black Hunters. If we look back at all of these fights, if there's Black Hunters being fielded, I'm pretty sure Machaka has won every single battle with the Black Hunters being fielded. The 2-life mechanic of them, the combination of one of them just having a high raw HP while one of them having relatively small HP pool, normal human-sized HP pool, but ridiculous armor values. Probably some of the highest armor values you can get in the game because of the full plate mail helm and the full plate mail. And I think they have shields as well? Yeah, they do also have a shield, so... I mean, it's not like a hoplite shield, it's not a tower shield, but it's still a freaking 16 armor value shield. You know, maybe... Okay, it's gonna be a little weird. And believe me, I don't want a faction that is not one of my boys. And I guess to some extent, Pangea is kind of my boy because I like playing Asphodel, and Asphodel is just like the undead version of Pangea. I don't want one of my non-boys to win this, but you know, this is very, very strong showing by Machaka. Their Black Hunters might just be the counter to AI, you know? Though you never know, you know, they might just get screwed in one of these rounds where they just get a very, very, very bad start, and their opponent just keeps making churches because they're just set onto that like build church mechanic, and they get like Dom killed within the first 12 minutes of the game, like you saw in that Marignan match, and then another match that I can't remember off the top of my head. So it is possible for these rounds to be incredibly short. And sure, it's not over yet, but the fact that my Kingdom of Man's Dominion is almost wiped out, and the fact that most of Agartha's Dominion is almost wiped out, I feel we're really close to Machaka just winning through the 450 Dominion. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to bust through the spiders plus this many archers. The pygmies are also really nice for the archers because I think there's obviously got to be the smaller size class, and as such you can fit like 6 of them in a square. That's a very high arrow density. I'm sure their accuracy is a little bit lower, but it doesn't matter when you're firing that many arrows, and when your arrows pretty much do 0 damage against your own spider units because of their armor value. You can afford to be a little bit more lax with it. So at least Agartha's doing something here, but I don't know. I'm surprised they're not able to break. I'm surprised in both ways. I'm surprised Agartha wasn't able to break this siege, and I'm surprised that, you know, they haven't been able to break through the gates yet. But I think this was the last, like, the death throes of Agartha. They got kicked out of this siege here, and they still haven't broken the siege. Though they were able to take the forests up here finally. But let's go to the Man Kingdom here, the Kingdom of the Bretonnians, Bretonia. And I mean, I guess I have a couple candles left. I have like this buffer here and then the 2 on the main base, but like maybe one more church is gonna just cause me to like get destroyed. I mean, if I swear to God though, if Agartha makes some weird ass like counterattack play here, and I mean, I'll be simultaneously like excited and then like completely upset because we'd be probably be here for another like hour and a half. But you know, my boys of Agartha would be like possibly winning it, or at least they're making like a last stand of sorts. But I don't want to see these church territories taken down. We're so close to a winner being declared. If we look at Agartha's, just like they have very few territories that have dominion for them. They might actually be dom killed before me. If you take a look at their territories here, they have 3 here, and that's it. They have 3 here as well. Probably another church here or here. It will be the end for Agartha. Agartha might be dom killed before me. That's kind of strange to think about, but it's definitely a possibility. I think Machaka is definitely going to probably take this. They probably actually aren't going to take this. I thought they would field at least a couple of spider people, even if they weren't black hunters. That they probably would have been able to, but having only a few ambidextrous people, no hoplites, and a bunch of trash, they're not taking this. I'm sorry. This was a bad assault on Machaka's part. They knew what was fielded here, yet they still made the decision to go after it. So I mean, at least, you know, Agartha was able to defend this. But I mean, that's good for them. Strong Bay, once again being attacked. Another one of these choke points that just like really likes being taken by both factions. I don't know if Agartha has this, because the Black Hunter they have is their commanding officer, so it's not gonna get up in there. Sure, like the Spider Warriors here, they're like the tier 2 ones, but they're definitely not as strong as the like full plate dudes. So it looks like Agartha's holding that as well. Special uprising event potentially, probably a ghost. No, what the hell is this? It's a lesser horror. I don't think I've ever seen this monster before. I'm 90% sure I've never seen this monster before. And instantly killed whatever the hell was like researching in Machaka here. Build a freaking church here. Like, you just get like some priest down here and build a church. Get a priest up here. You already have one. Build a church. It looks like a church was built over here or here at some point, and it's actually boosted Agartha's domain, so maybe they won't get dom killed. Clockwork soldiers are right to summon. I don't think Pebbleheart's making it into this game. If Agartha was stalling a little bit more effectively and actually building churches, maybe Pebbleheart would have come into play here. But it's unfortunate that they just been completely stomped through the mid game. Sure, like this Amazon force is not going to do much. But I think Machaka can make like all these like really bad like attacks, seeing as how nothing at all is going to be able to break the siege. It seems. I feel like we have to be at the cusp of a Dominion victory. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't occurred yet. An Agarthian attack. You know, this might be good. They might be able to finally break the siege of Quinnan. And I think they actually are gonna do it. It's finally gonna happen. I'm excited and terrified at the same time. This very well might be like a turnaround for Agartha. I don't want to be streaming this match for another 2 hours. I love my boys. I love my pink-skinned, like pale cave beasts that are probably somewhat blind. But I don't want to have them like have me stream for another hour and a half as they make their comeback and then maybe still even lose. Simply because like they don't have enough turns to potentially come back in the sense of getting enough Dominion to counteract the Dominion that Machaka has. Because it's a matter of time before my faction, the Kingdom of Man, straight up dies. Actually, I didn't even see who won that. I'm just gonna assume that Agartha successfully broke that. I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy rubbing my eyes with not hoping that this match goes on for another hour and a half. We got our Black Hunter squad. All of them, we have their riders doing massive amounts of damage. This is gonna rout the enemy. Agartha's gonna be routed in just a matter of a couple turns at this point. And it's not even just Black Hunters at this point. There's an entire Hoplite squad. Like, sure, some of them are stuck in the Rust Mist. And this flank might do some damage, but I think they're going to be routed before that. Yeah. They were routed before they could do anything. An uprising in Laharia, which is actually not good because this is a territory with a cathedral. Though I don't think these Sea Dogs are going to be able to be a match for the amount of Hoplites and Spider Warriors. So thank goodness that this territory isn't taken away and that the church lost. They're not building more churches. They need to build more churches. But, you know, the siege is finally over here. But I honestly think like the game's got to be close to being over. I think Machaka really has like insane dominance on the board for Dominion. Got to rely on like independent knights. And I think they will actually be able to do this with that number of knights. I'm sure there are hoplites being fielded by Machaka here, but I don't see any like real reason why these knights just won't overpower the amount of units that Machaka has fielded. And that seems to be the case. The knights were just so numerous that they were able to get the surrounds and semi-surrounds of the hoplites. Though, you know, Agartha got routed anyway, so... your other normal units weren't, like, I guess, strong enough. That or the commander got killed, which is a possibility with the archers. Yeah, it looks like the knight commander got killed. We have an animate dead force versus a smaller animate dead force. Though, I don't think we need to necessarily watch this one. It looks like it's a pretty much guaranteed victory for Agartha here, barring some weird stray arrows or magic because of the high ground of Machaka. But you never know. It looks like Machaka is casting Banishment though, so I mean that's... both sides are casting Banishment. And the routing begins. It looks like this is going to be a successful attack by Agartha. But Machaka's going to the Forest of Gun here with their blacks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they win that. And they do. It's almost over. One candle in every one of these territories. Bunch of battles taking place, and it's not looking good for Agartha here because even if like two territories swap here, it's like they've been in the situation where they can't come back, and even though that they broke the assault and they have all these units in their home territory, like if there was another like contingency force of Black Hunters, and there kind of is. There's more that are at the main home base of Machaka, but there's a force of like 4 or 5 Black Hunters that could do immense amounts of damage here. What? I was gonna say something, but these neutral swordsmen routed an army of Agartha that's like, okay, that's clearly game over. If you can spend like between 50 and like 300 gold to guarantee a province where there's no way you should win, it's pretty much game over. I have no idea how those swordsmen pulled that out. There's no way Machaka takes this. If this wasn't their commander, and it was like a normal Black Hunter, they would do it. But unfortunately, it's not, and I don't think it has full plate. No, it does. Okay, so at least it still got full plate. And it took 0 bleed damage on the last turn. That's insult to injury. Some hoplites. I'm not gonna watch this. There's no way they make that assault. And they take this one. So if we look at the map here, we have 2 territories that are gained by Machaka here. They shouldn't have taken this one. Sir Gouffre did some fucking serious like magic. I have no idea how he did it. But someone, i.e. Agartha, just needs to build a church here, and this match will be over. I know if they do that, it's basically signing their death sentence here. By like, building a church there, it kills me off and they lose. But I want the match to be over. It's pretty much apparent that Machaka's gonna win. Like, any amount of like, most of these engagements that are happening, there's so much economic advantage being given to the forces of Machaka. Agartha is fielding so many units and they're losing so many of those units just to a couple black hunters. Oh, they'll be able to take this. So at least there's that. There's some upside here. They are taking this one, so they're gonna get 1 territory back. But Machaka is using their wet ones to potentially even take this territory, and I hit the wrong thing instead of turbo. Maybe the wet ones won't survive here. They are not going to. So Machaka won't be able to do something cheeky and take this coastal territory. So far it's a good turn for Agartha, but they need something like 20 good turns for them in a row to really come back at this point. They're gonna take this one because they don't the Machaka has no forces there. Let's speed this one up. I really don't know who's valued here. There's some really good units on Machaka's side, but they have wolves, and the wolves have broken. If like maybe 2 of the spiders die, I think the armies of Machaka would be routed. But you know, I mean, those tier 2 cavalry spiders, I guess, were just too much. Are they ever gonna field their god? They have so many clockwork summons and terracotta summons, and then obviously just normal units here. And then they have some vinemen as well that's just not fielding. Like, I don't know what they're afraid of at this point. I feel like they could start moving out with their god. And Pebbleheart should be coming out. Maybe did he already come out and we just didn't see? No, yeah, he did come out and we just weren't paying attention. So Pebbleheart, this is their god. This is what he looks like, as you can see from the overlay as well. He's pretty much resistant to every type of damage, but he can't move. You can teleport him around with some magic, but you know, he's mainly there for the buffing of units. There's a bunch of sacred units that Agartha has that they could buff, but they weren't doing so much of that early game. So that was unfortunate for them. So we're just gonna kind of fast forward through this. Not a lot of like big battles going on, just like a bunch of little skirmishes, and we're getting close to the end. And I gained some dominion here, so it looks like I'm gaining dominion for whatever reason. It seems a little odd. We're gonna kind of fast forward through this. I apologize if you really wanted to get in the nitty gritty of this, since no one's here to tell me otherwise. Okay, so they lost the prophet, I guess, in one of these fights. Let's take a look at the map, see what they're doing, maybe see if there's any interesting assaults going on here. It doesn't seem like it. It looks like, just as I was saying, Machaka is finally deciding to split up some of their larger forces and push out, take some territories. It seems like it's long overdue from them. Like, they should have been doing this earlier. And it looks like maybe I might be down to 1 candle left. Hit the wrong button there. I am indeed at 1 candle. Agartha's going for some... Oh, they failed it. They failed the baptizer. So they're not going to take that water territory. Just keep like pseudo fast forwarding through this. Agartha was able to take 2 territories back from... they were able to push up into the old forest again. That's been a while since they were up there last. I doubt they're going to be able to hold. If we check their turn on their turn, see how many units they have there. I don't think they'll have enough to hold back from an assault from this many units. This is ridiculous. They're not going to be able to hold that. I'm sorry. And the fact that now it's summer and there's enough heat, or rather there's just enough heat, they can cross this because of their Dominion. And they can start pushing some of this and have an insane front line against Agartha. But let's check Agartha's units here. They don't have a whole lot. Machaka could easily break this siege. Their units are spread out everywhere. Actually, this is relatively strong territory. They're building a bunch of call them vermin instead of mermen. I guess that is like a Freudian slip of how I feel about a lot of the aquatic peoples in this game. They're vermin. Proclamation by Machaka making a new prophet. They're sieging. They actually made it to the. That's very surprising. Mainly because I guess they just didn't decide to field enough units to counter the assault. And this is what I was worried about, but also kind of excited about. This is a pretty big counterattack by Agartha here. A relatively large counterattack by Agartha, but I don't know if they're going to be able to hold it is the thing. It's like the death throes of a dying nation. There's a lot of units being fielded here, don't get me wrong. And I think maybe they actually might be able to do something crazy with this, so we'll start watching turns starting this turn. Because the build up to this is quite interesting. But like, if Machaka loses this because Agartha makes it to their capital and takes them out that way, it's wholly because they refuse to build any more Black Hunters. I mean it's a sad thing to say, but if there's Black Hunters on the field, that's a failed assault, almost 100% guaranteed of Agartha. So we'll see what they're able to do here. They'll be able to take this one. This is undefended. This is the fort that's under siege. The prophet's being fielded in the center for whatever reason. They're enlarging some of their units. But I don't know if it's enough here. They're going to get this round on these knights, and there's some hoplites here to do some massive damage. And they won't rout soon because they got the courage, and there's a lot of like arrows being shot out right now. Like, they have fire arrows, which is like they got enchanted with fire arrows. That's crazy. Yep. Both of these factions have been getting magic, so as I was saying, the counter to Black Hunters is magic, but you know, to be honest, the amount of fire magic that is being fielded by Machaka is not anything to like scoff at. Being able to summon elementals in this game is pretty good, and when you get fire arrows, like, that can cause some massive damage. So the siege has now been broken. What is Agartha doing other than that? They're trying to get some more supply lines from their capital or around your territories, and they're going to be able to do it with this force. Without a doubt in my mind. Though, I don't know, will Machaka be able to take this territory back? This is a relatively even small engagement here. Sure, Agartha has more sacreds he fielded here, but there's a lot of ambidextrous dudes fielded by Machaka. And I guess the shard guards were enough to come back from that. The ambidextrous guys weren't able to hold out long enough. A church has been built here. It's a matter of time before I get Dominion killed. I hit exit again, fam. It's happened again. I wish I could, like, I wish that button wasn't there. If I'm gonna be 100% honest, it's just there to troll the hell out of you. So let me make sure I check OBS so it's all coming in right. It looks alright. Maybe it's not centered completely. But the fact that host is right above that and doesn't even ask you, like, if you really want to exit, it just exits out of the game. That's a lot of Black Hunters, and they are fielding their god here. I mean, we're kind of spoiled here, but we can watch this battle because they fielded their god in Laria. So we've finally seen Madoma being fielded here with a fuck ton of Black Hunters. I mean, it's not the most we've seen. I mean, actually, it might be the most, but it's not by much. We've seen 11 before, and like this is like maybe like 14 or so. There's a lot of Black Hunters, though. Let's actually look to see how many are being fielded. Oh, I was off by one. But we're going to continue to fast forward because we made it past the year 4 mark or whatever. I don't know what actually year. We're at year 4. So we're about the point where I should probably start like fast forwarding matches if they go to like winter of year 4. But we'll watch to see if there's any cool battles here. We'll see what happened in Rim Mountains, this breaking of the siege. Seeing as how pretty much everything of Machaka has been fielded here, or everything of like real value. We have Madoma and a bunch of Black Hunters. We have a bunch of like flame dudes here. Magma Child, another one of these magic units that I've never seen before. Normally my games with the AI don't go this long, and obviously if I don't see a magic summon, if I don't use a magic summon, I don't see what it looks like. So it's the first time I've seen these, or at least the first time I remember seeing these guys, but it's definitely not enough at this point. Look how many archers like Madoma's forces of Machaka have. Like, this is not even the most archers they've been fielding at once, but it's ridiculous how many they have here. Is he gonna get in the fray with his club? Whoa, holy shit, I didn't realize he had a fire bola. So we made a fire bola that does immense amount of magic damage. I didn't even see him use it yet. He just wants to get in there and hit things with his club. This is a very big loss for the forces of Agartha. And a couple spider warriors, black spiders, have died, but you know, it's not really that big of a deal. And they have gods enforcers. Is that Giuseppe's force? I think that's Giuseppe's force. I just don't know where they bought them to. Where are these? Yeah, it's Giuseppe! It's Giuseppe. Giuseppe the Fourth. So, I mean, so gonna be some territory changes here, simply because of Giuseppe. Okay, so territory has been, like, Dominion has been weird. I was at 1 candle each in these 2 territories, and now it's gone to 2, and Agartha's getting territory here. It's very strange. I don't know what's going on. I'm honestly surprised Agartha hasn't attempted to take me out. I mean, they don't have anyone's fielded here at this point, but I'm surprised they haven't coveted my land enough. They could definitely get some more Dominion if they decide to just do that, but it doesn't seem like that's what they want. A bunch of like skirmishes happening. Not surprising that between Giuseppe and Giuseppe's moving back. That's disappointing. Between their god and the Black Hunters they have, they might lose a counter engagement at this point with their current army setup of only like 4 Black Hunters, and not all of them have the original units here. I think Giuseppe might. I don't know what Giuseppe is doing. Like, what could he possibly get done here? Maybe he's gonna head here. But if he wanted to head here to go here, why didn't he just follow this route? He was summoned here. Or he was actually summoned... yeah, he was summoned here. There was an attack here. So I'm very confused. Yeah, Giuseppe's gone now. Because he was bought out by Agartha. There's an Agarthian siege again on Rim Mountains. Let's see how that goes. Oh, nothing here was to defend, so that's not surprising. Are they preaching? They are. This is gonna end the game quicker for them. They're preaching right at my borders. That was a 26 turn battle. I'm gonna assume it happened in Rim Mountains because Machaka is gonna want to break the siege as soon as possible. Well, the definite unit advantage and probably total army cost is going to the advantage of Agartha by a lot, and I mean a lot. They have way more gold and resources fielded here. But I'm saying that because if indeed Machaka takes this assault, That's straight up broken. What the fuck is this hand thing? That's a crab? The fuck? Looks like a hand from where I'm at. These are just the normal Agarthian infantry, yeah. This attrition damage by these archers is it's insane, dude. It's crazy. Can you believe it? I wish there was a way for me to tell like total like unit costs in these engagements, but there should be zero chance, barring a commander kill, that Machaka wins this fight. But they do. They win it just because of how strong their front line is. It's beautiful. Like, they're not intending these tactics. Their hoplites are just so good at like soaking damage. Same with their spider warriors because they have 2 lives. The normal spider warriors with the shields effectively have some damage mitigation, but as well as the additional life. But it blows my mind here. Like, they fielded more units, and they fielded probably more, like, cash for units. If we look at it, there's like a lot of just, like, bog-standard normal archers. But still, it was enough to, like, break that huge army assault. We have to be getting close to the end, fam. Agartha's being definitely on the aggressive here and able to defend their territories as well. Or, I keep calling Machaka Agartha. I don't know what's with my brain here. Oh, the fortune teller's helping out the main province of Agartha here. You know, foreseeing events. They gotta love that 33% fortune teller. Kind of counteracts a little bit of misfortune that they have. Worldwide event of conjuration being cheaper. I mean, that kind of benefits both of these factions because they seem to be both using magic to summon guys, so that could be good for both factions here. But we definitely have seen that Machaka really favors summoning, so I don't know if they're gonna really use that to their advantage, and they're gonna summon more Vinemen and Wolves and Scorpion Beasts. And this spider unit's doing some work. I don't know how it did this. I don't know how it got into this province, and I don't know how it successfully took it, but they did. And look at this, finally building churches all over the place. It's a little too late, I think, for Agartha. It's gonna end the game a little bit quicker that they're doing this. There's only 1 point of dominion left in my domain, so maybe like a few more turns, and then the match is gonna be over, and we'll watch the last attacks. They're actually sieging a fort somewhere. I don't know what, like that vanguard assault was a little strange by Machaka. And it looks like Agartha has successfully like consolidated their borders to some degree. There's an assault obviously on Agarthian fort here. Why the hell are they not moving out with these wet ones here? Are they just like not like refusing to move out? I mean, I guess they probably they're the ones that have been assaulting Rim Mountains, but like there's still so many here they could have potentially even just taken this territory, seeing has no fort here. How have I not been Dom killed yet? How am I gaining Dominion all of a sudden? Like I've gained Dominion in this territory that was once Agarthian. That's very strange. I should be Dom killed at any, like, it should have happened many terms ago. The amount of churches fielded in this game. Oh, Goldeye casts his invulnerability. So we have cave rights. I haven't seen these guys in quite some time. This is a pretty large battle here. A lot of money being fielded by Machaka here, and I guess to some degree Agartha, but nowhere near as much as the fielded resources of Machaka. And since we've already seen that cost and unit efficiency of Machaka I don't see any reason why they wouldn't win this, and especially that they have successfully flanked with their spider squads. They're not going to get to the commanders, but they're doing some massive damage to the back line. And since they've held these units from advancing, this front line's going to start pushing again, I think. Or maybe not, who knows? We have a penumbral from Agartha. He's ethereal, so he's hard to hit. So those might be coming in handy if they continue to summon, and they have lifesteal. So, like, if they do take damage, how much to their max HP? They have 30 HP, so if they do take damage from a magical source, they can just start stealing it back. But unfortunately, just 2 of those aren't going to really do anything when you see this force being fielded by this monstrosity of Machaka. All these giant spiders. A little insane, to say the least. And you know, I honestly believe this would be a quick match. I wanted it to be a quick match. What is with this lower bracket in these matches, man? It's insane to me. It really is. Also, if you made it this far in the YouTube video, or you're watching this on Twitch, I want to ask you guys something. Do you like my play-by-play? It's not really that good because I'm not on a level where I can like understand so much about this game. I'm not like a master that's put thousands upon thousands of hours into the minions. But do you like my play-by-play, or would you rather me, I don't know, just talk about other stuff and just have the game be playing in the background? Like, I've kind of done that in a little bit, like even in this episode. Like, I've talked about other things, kind of podcasty, like non sequiturs, unrelated to the game, and have the game run in the background, and then talk about what's happening in the game every now and then. You know, maybe that's what you guys would enjoy. I don't know. Sitting through a video that's over an hour long of me just commentating on the match, I don't know how entertaining that would be. But you know, maybe people just listen to it, you know, as like fodder of sorts, you know, just like having it in the background as white noise, while like all the while getting some knowledge of how the AI is playing into this giant global war of people wanting to become the one true pretender god. Who knows, you know? But we're gonna continue to fast forward here until man is taken out. We're gonna actually like legit fast forward. So Machaka's just kind of going on the offensive, but you know, as I was saying, Agartha is making some very strong counterplays at this point, and there's some severe attrition happening to Machaka. So like, it's basically the shoe is on the other foot at this point, though, you know, at the same point, Black Hunters are still incredibly efficient. So those it'll always be an issue here, but you know, it's going to be less of an issue now that more powerful magic are being researched by both of these factions. We have level 5 Thaumaturgy, fucking Thurgs, and level 5 enchantment, level 6 alteration, which is pretty intense. What can they get with level 6? They can do crumble, petrify. If they find a way to feel the good old Pebble Heart of transporting him, they can do some crazy magic spells on the front line. They probably have some good ritual spells as well at this point. Oh, okay, so I guess Madoma died at some point. I was a little confused by this, but Madoma was killed. Not too surprised, but he was like right here with like a single like spider squad, so it was a little out of place. So not surprising that he was got killed there. Please don't say that I have 3 here. Please let me only have 1 Dominion left. This match should be over. It should have been over a couple of turns ago. Oh, I only have 2. Okay, so now Agartha has taken these and has built a church here, and probably is going to be preaching next turn. So I can imagine me being taken out relatively soon here. And actually, you know, I was talking about the counterattack by Agartha and how I kind of didn't want it to happen, despite me liking Agartha, and then because it would make the game longer, and it has indeed made the game longer. But, you know, at this point, I don't really know who might be winning the Dominion game here. Simply because both of them have relatively good Dominion strengths. Like, they're going head-to-head on Dominion here. Like, Machaka really dropped the ball. They were so close to potentially just winning through Dominion. They had to have been just like a couple of points shy. They almost dom-killed both Agartha and me, so if you're in that situation, it's got to be close. Probably against for Machaka. So they finally got another profit. Didn't actually want to click on that. But yeah, they've been pushed back immensely here. Sure, this unit or this unit, one of these units got reinforced by a bunch of black spiders. So this might be able to push in through here. And they got a hoplite general from like Archocephala here. So I'm assuming that this guy is a merc. He is indeed a merc. But I think Agartha has been pushing out like very efficiently, to say the least. I'm honestly surprised. Like I said that there's a potential for them to come back. They just need to take constant victories, and that seems to be what's going on. Machaka's obviously taking some things here, but look, Machaka's losing units because of this retreating thing, and Agartha's pushing back hard. Like immensely hard, because they like this province. They keep buying more and more of these wet ones every turn, which is very good for them. I mean, wet ones are cheap. I mean, they don't have any armor. They have stone spears, but like when you can mass them that many units, and it doesn't really matter as long as you get the surround on units, you can still do massive amounts of damage. They're trash. Don't get me wrong. I would much rather them get other units, but when you're getting this many units, you can kind of like push into territories that you normally wouldn't because of the massive amount of units. Like 50 wolves will allow you to get some territories that you probably shouldn't, just because of the damage out of wolves in that amount of numbers, despite wolves not being very good. And 2 more successful attacks by Agartha here. Now, this is not a good place for Machaka to be in. We've had so many of these upsets. I'm not saying that's an upset yet. And it's a successful defense on the siege as well here. But we've had so many of these upsets in this lower bracket. It's kind of insane. Not only are we... If Agartha wins this, the score graphs have to be insane. Like, they have to be insane if Agartha wins this. And that's a big if. Machaka still might have the Dominion victory in grass because they were winning. They were so close to winning Dominion, just by points, and like they do have a lot of Dominion. Don't get me wrong; they might still have the majority of the map because of these water territories. I think they still win through Dominion. The siege was broken at this territory. It should be a given by the amount of like mages they have here. That amount of turns in the battle have to be insane. But Agartha's doing some serious work here. And somehow, my kingdom is holding out still. Oh, okay, so it looks like Machaka is pushing into Agartha once again. 2 Agarthian attacks, 1 Machaka attack. Agartha takes their territory back. Takes this territory as well, and then I do not see where the other one was, unfortunately. See what's going on here. Oh, God of Man has been permanently vanquished. We've done it. Let's watch these last 2 battles. The Rim Battle Mountains again, which is another popular battle place for both of these, and it looks to me like a very large force by Agartha here. Less so by Machaka, but they do have plenty of Spider Knights being fielded here. Though their single solitary Black Hunter is going to get completely destroyed. Doesn't matter how good your defense is or how much HP you have, if you get surrounded by enemy units, you start taking immense damage because you just can't defend, you can't block it. Though, nope, now it's going to get completely surrounded. And it's going to just break immediately because of the surround. Agartha should be making a successful assault here. It will be very disappointing to see if Agartha does not come out on top here. because they've made a very strong counter showing here. They've been pushing. They were at the brink of death. They were at the brink of death, but then they got revitalized, and have been coming back turn after turn after turn, making immense swaths into enemy territory. They're cutting through it with a machete, cutting through the territory of Machaka. If they don't win this, I will be severely disheartened here. Not because I like my boys of Agartha, but because they were making a comeback here. Despite me liking factions, I like the underdogs more. I like to see these comeback mechanics. I like to see nations that were losing come back and somehow take victory from the jaws of defeat. So let us look at these score graphs and see who the winner is. First, we'll look at provinces. Turn off the man province here. But as you can see, sure, Agartha had more territories, but you know, this assault by Machaka did some serious damage to the economy of Agartha. But then, you know, look at this territory loss. Something happened. Maybe it was just like the magic revolution of Agartha. Just really turned things around. Also, the lack of black spiders being built every turn really hurt Machaka out. Look at all these forts they built and took. Income through the roof. Gem income, both pretty high for both nations. And look, Magic Revolution, as I stated, they got to a point where they were just pumping out that Magic Gen. And look at this graph, it is all over the place, up and down, through and through. But this army size, I'm okay. I'm not gonna look at Dominion, obviously I'm looking at it last, but come on. How can you look at this graph, this army size, and these number of provinces? I have to think of a potential contingency. Like maybe, not a contingency, but an alternate win condition. That if a nation has like this much an advantage, they have to win. But I can't change it. I mean, I could, you know, it's my tournament. I can do whatever I want, but there's got to be some consistency despite me changing things all the time. Oh, actually, we don't know. I mean, a few more turns, you know, maybe, I don't know. But despite me wanting to believe, my boys have been taken out. Machaka makes it out. Barely, and I honestly mean barely they do it. Ugh. I can't believe it. I cannot believe they do it. They barely do it. We gotta double check this. Even the next turn they don't have enough. That's very disappointing for me. That comeback was real. A couple of more turns and Agartha would have taken it. But they sealed their death sentence by putting those churches so close to man. They killed me off a little bit too quick. If they didn't build those churches and kept advancing, I think they would have taken out Machaka before Dominion happened. But let's look at the graph. They are going to be moving forward. We have one last match in this lower bracket, and it's Ys versus Ashdod. My least hyped match. These factions are one of the least known factions of me. I've never played either of these factions. I played against Ashdod like a couple of times, but I don't remember too much about them. I don't think I've ever fought against Ys and never played them myself. So that's the last match of the lower bracket. I'm not streaming it right now because this one match was 2 hours. I appreciate you guys watching this on YouTube. If you stuck around the entire time, please leave a like or a comment telling me how much you hated this or whatnot. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys next time.